So let me share my screen here. Here it is. One is because the for loop has actually got everything all built into one. Whenever we're doing this idea of an initialization means we have to set a value up. So we have to say, for example, we're starting out with this many bullets or this much ammo, or we've got 3 lives. On a for loop, it's the first thing inside the parentheses, and it's everything up to but not including the first semicolon. So it's part of a larger structure that we're looking at there. In a for loop that I'm using in the example does have an initialization put in there where I'm setting countdown is assigned the value of 10, because we're going to do a countdown from 10. All 3 loops, and you can put them in different spots depending on which structure you have, are going to have a condition. And a condition is a true or false. So it's not going to return a value of a number. It's going to say, well, whatever's in that sandwich is going to be true, in which case we're going to do the loop or repeat it, or it's going to be false, in which case we're done. So on a while loop, it's beforehand. And a while loop would be good for like, well, I have ammo and they're squeezing the trigger, go bang. But the do loop is different. It's a situation where it's going to actually shoot first and ask questions later. So literally in the example of a do loop here, my classic example is that when someone goes to shoot the gun, before they even check for ammo, it's going to go bang and then click. So a do statement is not the right place to be used, right structure to be used when you're shooting a gun, because it's going to shoot first and then ask questions later. So one checks at the top, one checks at the bottom. The for statement, also checks it first. If it's not true, it's not going to do anything below. Now, as I'm putting these boxes, you'll notice on the for statement, I've got everything on one line. I prefer it because it's one-stop shopping. Everything's together on one line. Imagine, if you will, a multi-line statement, multi-line block of code, thousands of lines long. And you've got an initialization somewhere way up at the top, some really weird number in the middle, you've got a condition, and then some number of lines down at the bottom, you've got a change word increments. And they can be spread out by multiple lines. My preference is when I like to use a for loop, because even the change, that increment, is on the same line as everything else. So there's 3 different structures because there's a need and a place for all of them. I just wanted to share with you that when you look at the color coding here, there's 3 different loop statements, but they each have 3 different elements that are the same, just rearranged. So continuing in this presentation we got going on here. So let me get back to the question. Logan, did that help a little bit? Is there some more follow-up? We can go back to the version if you want, this solution. Okay, so let's take a look again. A while loop says, well, it's true, that's what I'm going to do. If it's not true, it's never going to happen. Okay? So this I included in the presentation. I'm not going to go through it line by line, but basically we're going to say, if they give me a value that's obnoxious for month, and it's not a 1 through a 12, I'm going to repeat and say, all right, give me a number between 1 through 12. It'll have the patience. It'll outlast anybody. And you've probably had, like, a kid, you've talked to a kid of a certain age, and they're going to just ask why. Give me a month numbered 1 through 12. Why? Give me a month numbered 1 through 12. Why? Well, they'll just, the computer will just keep asking it. They won't let you past it. You can't wear it down. So the do statement, a couple of heads ups. One is it's still got the while condition, but there's no semicolon up at the top where the do is. One of the things you want to use a do statement for, or structure, is if you wanted to paint out a bunch of options. Like, all right, show them all the options and then ask them what they want to do next. On a drive-up ATM, They put in all their information. You say, what do you want to do? You want to do a deposit, withdrawal, check the balance, do a transfer. They do whatever, and then you show them the menu options again. And one of them is probably, I'm all done. Could be in a game that you show them things like PvP, campaign, online, tutorial, download the latest map package. So some type of a welcome or landing page where you want to give them options. So again, the do loop's going to do it first, and then it's going to check. So if you look at them side by side, one does it first and then checks. The other one checks it first and then might do it or might not. That's the basic difference. All right, so here's an example where the do includes the prompt. And in this one, you don't have to put in some random garbage into the version that's there. You can just run the structure. This is that same line number 4, broken down again with, and I probably shouldn't have this statement here be green. That should probably be gray. This should be a gray thing. It's not really a comment. There'll be some statements there, one or more. Now, for loop structure does have to have these semicolons, but you don't have to have things in the middle all the time. Yeah, we talked about that. That's what it looks like in a flow chart. Just going to move on for a minute now. This is a comparison of a while loop compared to a for loop. And where the little icon is, that's my preferred method because it's... Anyone? Why do I like the for loop? Nobody got it? What's the advantage of this structure right here over the other two? Okay, so if it's not clicking,
you can pretty much put the same amount of information in less lines.
There you go. So the key phrase I'm looking for is one-stop shopping. So sometimes when we get ready for the holidays, we want to go to a variety. We'll go to one grocery store and get a bunch of things that we like. We might go to a different place because they've got better, produce. We might go to another place because they got really good baked goods. We might go to another place because they've got something special for the holidays that we can only get there. And so you end up doing a lot of driving around to have your holiday party. And if I can go one place and get it all, that one-stop shopping, I'm not running all over the place trying to get my act together. So that's the key phrase for the for statement. So these charts, they'll be available for reference. I don't mean to confuse you, but basically it happens all on one line. Now in games, and there's a couple pictures I didn't have in there earlier, I want you to understand that a game loop repeats somewhere between 60 to 120 times a second. And the things that happens in there are pretty detailed. It's got to handle all the artificial intelligence and launch particle systems and play sounds and make sure that the sound has stopped playing if it should have stopped, or make sure that the animation for the person dying has finished in this appropriate time before they respawn the character. There's a lot of logic that goes into a game loop, and it's not always apparent when you're just looking at a game and playing it that there's a lot happening behind the scenes. So this is what you're going to do. Samples out there for you. I want you to do this using all 3 looping types. Now, I'm going to do this for you as a demo quickly, but I'm not going to give you all the code. And if you end up with a version that works, I want you to play with it. Count down from 1,000 or make it different in some way. These are other exercises. We'll run through these tomorrow. And we will be ready once we get the random numbers in there. We'll be ready to do our zombie game probably on Thursday and Friday of this week. Okay? So let's get some practice at this and ask questions about what you might have using loops. because we're starting to understand how to put things on the screen and ask people for information, how to get a value, compare a value. We can basically have random number generators that are like dice, and we can have a very simple encounter experience controlled by loops where we can do battle against a number of zombies, and based on randomness, either survive the zombie battle or lose our lives to them. So, well, it makes it a little more interesting than guess a number from 1 to 100, but it builds on that same idea. So hopefully that will be interesting for you. That's it for the presentation there. Here's what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump in and I'm going to start recording this as I demo my screen. And this is going to like freak out for a minute, but it's fun to watch it happen. As it starts to share the screen with myself. Pow, 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 pow. All right. Are you ready? I will stop if somebody says something. Otherwise, I'm just going to press on and I'm going to show you how to make this 3 different ways. The exact same thing. Here's my for loop. And I'm just going to do a copy on this. And in fact, I should probably have some kind of documentation in the program that kind of shows this is my for loop. What's the next loop type you'd like me to show you? Somebody give me an idea. 2 other ones. I'll take the first suggestion. What do you want to see? I've got something on my screen here. A while. Sure, I'll do that. So I'm just going to paste it as is, and I'm going to rearrange things. So which one's the condition I need to put after the word while? So here's a while. Now this int t minus equals 10. We need to talk about this for a minute. This is our initialization. I'm going to move it above, but I've already got a t minus that's declared. So I either need to rename it like t minus while and then use that variable name throughout it, because this is a different name than this one, or I can just get rid of the word int and just say t minus is going to be assigned 10 all over again. Either way works. But you need to actually initialize your variable. And I was using red in the PowerPoint, but there's a little bit of a different encoding on here. So this is the condition. Well, -1 is less than t minus. Okay, this is the last part. I don't want a semicolon there, by the way, after a while. Since I've got to do 2 things now, I do need to have it within a set of curly braces. One to open it, and another one below the statements that are encapsulated there. I'm going to put that here. The things that happen in the middle are, I need to, and just for completeness, I need to lower my value by 1. Now, connecting back to what I showed you at the beginning, I don't need to have this on a separate line. I could actually put the minus minus right there, and it'll lower it by 1. So right in the printout, I actually could reduce the value. I'm going to keep them on separate lines for this demo. Just want you to be aware that would work that way. So now there's a while loop, and it's also going to say blast off. I only have 1 return statement. Don't get confused by the fact that the return statement is going to be, I'm all done. Get out of here. Go back. So let's try this version. I should see blast off twice. The second time, just to make sure I know it's the while loop, I'm just going to add the word while loop output and then go down a line as well. So I can see that I've changed between the for loop. So I should have 2 different versions of the rocket going off here. Stray backslash in program. See what I did wrong there, people? You're going to do this sometime too. That's the wrong slash for a comment. That's what I should have done. And I should have picked up on the fact it didn't turn colors. All right, let me try it again. T minus was not declared in the scope. Aha. I'm glad these errors are happening. So I just went through this whole song and dance about the fact that I have int T minus right there. So because that is actually part of the for structure, it's only known within the for structure. It's like a temporary little variable, and its name could be anything, but nobody else knows about it. So even though I went through this big thing about, oh, you can't reuse it, I do need to declare the name outside of the for loop so it's known to the rest of the program. All right, so I should have two versions of BlastOff in here. The first one is the for loop output where it says BlastOff, and the next one is the while loop output. So there's one more structure for repeating that I want to see in your examples. Can someone tell me what it is? Someone besides Stephanie, since she told me about the while loop. Does anybody remember what the third name is? Doo-doo. That's right, it's the doo-doo. So now I'm going to put doo-doo on the screen. I mean do. Just the do loop. It said doo-doo. All right, so here's the cool thing, is it's basically a copy and paste of the while loop. We move the condition to the bottom, and we change it. I'll show you, let me just go through this. From line 9 through line 15, I'm going to copy. And you can right-click and do a copy, or you can hold down the Control key and do Control-C. Those are two ways you could copy. And then below that, I'm going to paste the output. So starting on line 16 here, I'm going to paste the output. You can right-click and do a paste, or you could do a Control-V. Now, it says while here, but I'm going to make this a do loop. So I'm going to start out with the word do. The while condition I need to move to the bottom. Remember, we're going to do it first and then check. So I'm going to cut this from here with a Control X, or I could right-click and do an X. Now, there is no semicolon after the word do. So some people like to move their bracket up so it's a visual indicator there. All right. And then after the closing brace, that's where you put your while statement. And here is where you do have to have a semicolon at the end. So if we compared lines 10 through 15 and lines 17 through 20, they're almost the same. And here's the example where I do have T minus outside of a loop. So I'm just going to change that, just like so. I hope I will get 3 different versions. And this is going to be the do-do loop output. And I've got to move my screen up a little bit, see what we got here. We got the for loop output, we got the while loop output, and we've got our do-do loop output. So there was a sample that I wanted you to be able to see. I'd like you to play with that. You can use the samples I put out there and break it. I want to see you get error messages and then ask me what's wrong and share your screen with me and we'll talk about it. Just like I make mistakes. It's quite okay to make mistakes. I'm going to have this one count down from 100. I'm going to make the next one count down from 1,000. And I'm going to have the third one count down from 10,000. And this is the advantage of a loop. It doesn't care. It's just going to do what it's been told to do. The output will look a little different. So if I scrolled back here, you'd see all of the countdowns, and there is screen after screen of the countdowns here from each of these T minuses that has gone through. Do. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to get in there and play with the code and break it. I want you to look at the PowerPoints and the videos, and I want you to turn in something that shows me that you got some code that works, or ask questions. That's our looping. Implodes, explodes. Doing lots of blast offs. So the word blast off doesn't look too bad, but you can also put some ASCII art in there if you want to. Have I talked about ASCII art before? No. All right, let's take a look at this. I'm going to open a new window, and I'm going to type in ASCII art rocket. Yeah, I've done this before a little earlier today. So if I look in here, I can see if I wanted to have a blast off and I wanted to have it show a rocket going off, I could actually grab something like this, do a copy. I go into my code. This is not required, by the way. Just showing you that it's another example. Instead of just doing the word blast off, I want to turn this into a print statement. And I'm going to have some problems here because they're special characters. I need to make these all printf statements. And what it's going to happen is it's going to see things that are either a forward slash or a backslash, and it's going to start to pay attention. Remember, the backslash n is for a new line, and the backslash t is for a back tab. If you really want to have that backslash character, you got to put two of them in there. So the first one says special character. The second one says, no, I'm just kidding. It's actually a backslash character. So in implementation, this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to have to come in here and basically print in front of each of these lines. Of course, I grabbed a more complicated one. The printf statement, I'm going to need to put that out there like printf, and then open up the quotes. But the other end needs to go on the other side of it over there. So if I do a control X for a cut, come all the way down to the other end, and then do a control V for a paste, like so, and put a semicolon at the end. And I got to repeat that down all my lines. So another way to do that would be to just copy the part like this and come all the way down here on each line. With the down arrow doesn't work with my cursor activated that way. Let me turn that off, and then I can actually get in here and do the paste a little bit easier. A little bit awkward, but this is probably worth it in the long run, just because you'll see how it starts to look in a minute. So I'm clicking to print here. Yeah, I'll want to beautify the code in a minute here. It's going to be it's going to be off. It's to be a little tedious, but the results I think will be cool. Now that's enough of a rocket right there. I'm not going to do the whole like mushroom stuff. I'm just going to save myself some time and delete all of the special effects down there. If I get the top part working, I'll be happy with that. So now I need to make sure I got the quotes, the end parenthesis, and the semicolon here. And I have to go along here and paste it in here. It's much easier because, oops, I need to go down a line. All right, so now that I got all my printfs in there, I just need to go in and clean up anywhere where it thought I was saying something like special, like the backslash, backslash. Here's another one that should be 2 backslashes. Here's another one that should be 2 backslashes. That might be it. Spacing might be a little bit off because of the way these printfs are here. Yeah, it will be. It's going to be shifted off to, oops. Must be a tab character in there that's going to throw me a little bit. Oof. Yeah, that's going to be an oof. That's going to be off by about 3 spaces there, I think. All right. So there's a better way to do this when we're in lab. I can show you how to use a different command. An online GDB, I haven't spent enough time with it to really show you how to fix it yet. I will very soon, because I won't like this, and I'll be like, oh, I need to fix this. I need this to look beautiful. Try this. I expected that. Ah, because they're using quotes, it's also causing a problem for me. Yeah, so I got at least 3 of them that I would need to fix. Line this one here with the quotes in it. So I'm going to actually delete from this line down, taking the easy way out. It's thinking. It's Lincoln. It's not stinking. Wow. The counting down from the big numbers is causing a little bit more of a delay. Yeah, maybe counting down from 10,000 was not a good idea. Ooh, that did not wrap on the screen too well. That is ugly. Ugly, ugly, ugly. All right. Let's save this by doing the following. I'm going to delete this stuff here and just get rid of it because what was maybe a good idea, the implementation here just hasn't looked right. All right. And we found out that 10,000 is a bit too much. We can just do it from 10 here as well. 100. Yeah, we can just do it from 10. All right. TF is Lou. Lou, 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 Lou. All right. It exited. So I got my 3 blast offs in there. That's what I want to have you break. I want you to get in there. I want you to have questions. So I'm going to stop the demo and give you more time to get work done and ask questions. I'll be online. That's what we did during the first 2 sessions, and questions are good. So please get in there, find errors, and ask me. All right, I'm going to stop this demo.